نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي ربي يسر ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير آمين يا رب العالمين. Welcome back to our next video of classical Arabic grammar series, which has been brought to you after a fairly long period of inactivity. This happened because I was away on holidays at a place quite warm, bright, nice and sunny with temperatures in early 20s. Very good. You're probably wondering what it was like. Yes, it was brilliant and I had amazingly wonderful time before returning to this typical classical cold, grey, gloomy English weather. Right. In the context of our ongoing work on Murakkab Idaafi, today I'm going to talk with you about a structure that we use for describing things, what we call a false idaafa. Idaafa ghair hakikiya, kind of a fake idaafa. As you know, in genuine idaafa or idaafa hakikiya, we have collection of nouns and we are describing a sort of a possessive relationship between those nouns. I'm sure you have previously heard me saying that an idaafa can only have nouns. Well, generally speaking, that is true. However, in false idaafa and kind of, as I said, fake idaafa, the first term of our idaafa is actually an adjective, not a noun. We can make use of this structure to make phrases that mean things that sound like English phrases you might have heard, such as fleet of foot or sound of mind. These might sound a little bit archaic in English, but in Arabic we use them all the time in the present day to describe people and things, and especially to describe personal characteristics of human beings. That's one case we hear them all the time. So if we wanted to say, my friend is good-hearted. My friend is good at heart. Well, in Arabic, we can say, my friend is good of heart. That's how we would phrase it. Rather saying good at heart or good-hearted, if we translate exactly from Arabic, it should sound like good of heart. I'm gonna write here, Habibi tayyibul kalbi. Habibi tayyibul kalbi. Tayyibul kalbi. So Habibi, my friend. Habibun is friend, male friend. Habibatun will be feminine. So Habibun will, because this is mudaf and mudaf ilayh. So this is real idaafa, by the way. So Habibu becomes because of Ya Habibi. So my friend, Tayyibul Kalbi, Tayyib of heart, good of heart. So the only difference between this and real idaafa is that Tayyib is an adjective. It's a characteristic, it's a quality, it's an attribute. It's a word which we use for describing things, for describing people. And we are saying tayyibul kalbi, good of heart. Otherwise, this makes exactly like real idaafa. This is, for example, is basically real idaafa. And if we analyze this is mudaf, mudaf, and this is ya mutkallam is mudaf ilayh. They combine to make mubtada. There we go. And this is mudaf again, which is part of false idaafa. And mudaf ilayh, as it is always majroor. And these combine to make khabar. And mubtada and khabar combine to make jumla. Okay. Jumla ismiya khabariya. So that's our sentence. Jumla ismiya. So Habibi Tayyibul Qalbi. If you would rather like to say my darling, my beloved is good at heart, of good heart, or good-hearted. So all we have to do here is to change this noun to feminine. So Habiba, Habibati, Bati, ta will come here, and this will become Tayyibatu. So this becomes feminine. From Habibun, it becomes Habibatun, which is then Habibati. And Tayyibatun will become Tayyibatu. We lose tanween, as you know. Mudaf cannot have tanween. So Tayyibatul Kalbi. My darling is good of heart. That's what we're saying. So suppose that we want to say something like my dad talks a lot. For example, we want to say my dad talks a lot. So we can say that by kind of conjugating the relevant verb here. That's one way of saying waladi, my dad, my father. Waladi, we can say yatakallamu, yatakallamu kasiran. Run. Takallama yatakallamu, to talk, to speak. So we've conjugated the verb that way. And yatakallamu, he speaks, kasiran, a lot. And when we add this here as a prefix, waladi, my dad speaks a lot, talks a lot. That's one way of saying it. But we can also say in Arabic, which in English may mean that my father is much of speech, much of a speech. So in that case, we will write, or we will say, waladi, waladi kasirul kalami. So that's kind of false idaafa. Kasirul kalami. So a slightly fancier, more interesting way of expressing the same idea. For example, if you wanted to impress your audience and you're delivering a speech and you really want to impress them, then you would use this rather than that phrase or a sentence. If you're writing, for example, poetry, or if you want to write a refined, beautiful, elegant, eloquent prose, again you would use this rather than that. So Otherwise, they mean exactly the same. And again, if we were talking about our mother, that my mother talks a lot kind of thing, so all we have to do is we would add ta marbuta to describe our feminine noun, and we would be good to go. So we'll say walida ti here, here walidati, that will become fatha walidati, kasirul kasiratul kalami, my mother talks a lot. So just adding ta marbuta will clearly change a masculine noun to a feminine noun. We could also use it for abstract concepts. Suppose if we wanted to say this is a widespread problem, just an abstract idea or abstract concept. We want to say this is a widespread problem. So we would say this is haza, but problem is feminine in Arabic, so we'll say hazihi. Hazihi. This problem, mushkilatu. Mushkilatu. Hazihi mushkilatu. And now what we want to say is we have to say widespread. So in Arabic term, in Arabic point of view, from Arabic point of view, that will be kind of sounding wide of spread. We can use a masdar here, a relevant masdar. For example, we'll say hazihi mushkilatu wasi'atu. Wasi'atul intishar. Wasi'atul intishari. Intashara yantashiru means it is a verb which is used for spreading out widely or being found in every place. So basically what we are saying here is that wide of spread. Intishar, kind of spreading out, from intashara yantashiru intishar, which is masdar, which is good use of masdar here, and wasi is wide, of more capacity, that kind of meaning. So if we analyze this before we move further, so this is this is a new construction which we haven't worked on yet. It's called a demonstrative phrase. So we have used ism ishara here, demonstrative pronoun, so that's ism ishara. And this then called musharan alayh, to which we point towards to, musharan ilayh. And ism ishara and musharan alayh combine to make mubtada, and then this kind of false idaafa, which is mudaf and mudaf ilayh, combine to make khabar, and then we have mubtada and khabar, jumla ismiya khabariya. Jumla ismiya khabariya, that's how we construct that. So this wide of spreading, basically wide of spread or wide of spreading, we can say, we couldn't really get away with that in English, probably But in Arabic, it's perfectly acceptable structure, perfectly acceptable way of expressing this idea. And there you have it, a false idaafa. Not quite a real idaafa, but a handy tool for describing people, places, and things. Let's move on to similar structures which look like false idaafa, and there are some points to cover in there. I have, let's start with this. I have this Quranic ayah here. Hal yastawil lazina ya'lamuna wal lazina la ya'lamuna. Are those who know equal to those who don't know? So this is basically highlighting the importance of obtaining knowledge. It's nothing to do with murakkab idafi, but I have a relevant hadith here. So here we Quran says, it's Surah 39, Ayah 9, Surah Zumar, that Allah Ta'ala says it is important to obtain knowledge. And quite rightly, knowledge is really power. So knowledge gives you power. I've got hadith here which we're all, I think, familiar with, all of us. Talabul ilmi faridatun ala kulli muslimin. Acquisition of knowledge, obtaining knowledge is mandatory for every Muslim. Simple, straightforward. And then another hadith which is kullul muslimi alal muslimi haramun. All the things of a Muslim are inviolable for a brother Muslim. Damuhu, his blood, maluhu, his wealth, irduhu, and his honor. So I want you to focus on translation was simple, straightforward, there's no problem there. I would like you to focus on these two constructions here, kulli muslimin and kullul muslimin. Kulli muslimin, here we have the word kull, 2 points really basically to cover here. The word kull is kind of always used as a mudaf, so which means the noun which follow kull is going to mudaf ilayh, and by its nature mudaf ilayh is going to be in majroor form as far as the Arab is concerned. So kulli muslimin, every Muslim, we are saying every Muslim. So acquisition of knowledge, obtaining knowledge is mandatory for every Muslim here. Here we have this kullul muslimi, so Muslim, one Muslim word here has become definite. Here it's indefinite and here it is definite. So what's the difference? When we use this construction, this means kullul muslimi, every Muslim. Kulli muslimin, which if we don't have Allah, it will be kullu muslimin. And kullul muslimi, when we make Muslim from indefinite to definite noun, the meaning changes to the whole of a Muslim, kind of the all of a Muslim, which what we're really saying is all the things which belong to Muslim, everything of a Muslim, the whole of a Muslim. So that's the difference in the meaning, which is really important. If we use kulli muslimin, we are saying every Muslim. Kullul muslimi, we are saying the whole of a Muslim, the whole entity of one person basically. So in other words, everything which belongs to a Muslim, every bit of a Muslim, that kind of meaning. We can also highlight the difference by saying For example, we say kullu kitabin, every book. And I can also say kullul kitabi, make it definite. Kullul kitabi. Kullul kitabi. So what's the difference here? If I want to say I have read every book in this library, so I will say kullu kitabin, every book. If I want to say I have read the whole of this book, I have read this book in and out, I have read this book page to page, I will say kullul kitabi, the whole of this book, all of the book. That's what I'm saying. Similarly, if I say kullu yawmin, that will be every day. Kullu yawmin, every day. And if I say kullul yawmi, that will mean the whole day. One day, but the whole of that. And here we are saying every day. We can also say, for example, every student. So we'll say kullu talibin, every student. Kullu talibin, every student. If we want to say all the students, we will make this plural. So that will become kullul tullabi. Kullu tullabi, this sun letter. Kullu tullabi. All the students. Every student, all the students. However, if we want to say the whole of a student, which means all the things which belong to a student, so we'll make this definite. Kullu talibi. So that's the kind of difference. Kullu talibin, every student. Kullu tullabi, all the students. Kullu talibi, every bit of that student. All which belongs to that student, or the whole of a student. So that's the kind of difference which we really are looking at here. This here really means then every entity, which means every student, every city, every library, every university, every river. And this will mean the whole of one entity. So the whole student, the whole city, the whole library, the whole university, the whole river. So that's kind of difference between these constructions. There are other words which are used similar to kull. Just a few more examples. They're used similarly. For example, if we want to say some students will say baad, word baad. Used similarly to kull. Baad tullabi. Tullabi. So some students, and if we want to say most students, we can say aksaru tullabi. So aksar is also used similarly. Aksaru tullabi. Some students, most students. So that's the kind of difference between these different constructions. Let us move on to a little bit more complicated, not complicated, but a little bit longer really. Here I have written, this is what we hear in Friday khutbah, every Friday. Inna khayr al-hadisi kitabullahi wa khayr al-hadi hadiyu Muhammadin. Can I lower this down a bit? Yes, I can. Okay. Here we go. So, Inna khayra hadisi kitabullahi wa khayra al-hadiyi hadiyu Muhammadin. So what we're basically saying here is that the best word is Book of Allah, wa khayra al-hadiyi hadiyu Muhammadin, and the best guidance is the guidance of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the opposite of khair is shar. وَشَرَّ الْأُمُورِ مُحْدَثَاتُهَا. And the worst of things are those that are muhdasatuha, newly invented. And kulla muhdasatin bid'atun. And every newly invented thing is an innovation. وَكُلَّ بِدْعَةٍ دَلَالَةٌ, and every innovation is astray, like going astray. And وَكُلَّ دَلَالَةٍ فِي النَّارِ, and every going astray is in the fire. Right, so here if we look at these structures, we have khayr al-hadisi. It's an adjective. Khayr is a superlative degree, basically. If we want to say, for example, we can say good, we can say better, or we can say best. So this is equivalent to best. So khayr al-hadisi, which is basically best of kind of word, but what we were describing really is the best word. So the best word is Kitabullahi, Allah's book. So this is kind of false idaafa, and this is real idaafa. Similarly, khair al-hadiyi, false idaafa, hadiyu wa khair al-hadiyi hadiyu Muhammadin, and bashar al-amuri is false idaafa. The worst, kind of the worst of the things, or the worst things. And muhdasata wa kulla muhdasatin, so that's kind of real idaafa here. Kulla bid'atin is again real idaafa, and wa kulla dalalatin is real idaafa as well. So we've got combination of false idaafa and real idaafa in these verses. I've got another example from Quran, which is about Arhamur Rahimin. So Arhamu is again an kind of adjective. Kala Rabbik, that's about Prophet Moses. Kala Rabbik firli wa akhi. So the Moses said, O Rab, forgive me and my brother, and adkhilna fi rahmatika, and admit us to your mercy. Wa anta arhamur rahimin, for you are the most merciful of all. Most merciful of all. Most. So it is superlative degree again, and it is an attribute, it is an adjective, it is a quality, it's a characteristic. So that's false idaafa. Arhamur rahimin, false idaafa. This is actually on the pattern of af'alu. Arhamu, af'alu. We are going to learn in one of the future videos. Af'alu, the pattern of af'alu is arhamu. Af'alu describes a superlative degree. So wa anta arhamur rahimin. Similarly, khairur razikin is similar to that, arhamur rahimin. Kul ma indallahi khairum min al-lahwi wa min at-tijarati wallahu khairur razikin. and Allah is the best provider of all. So if you want to have the references, these this is Surah Jumu'ah, which is number 62, ayah number 11 here, and this sorry, that's the reference for that. Surah Jumu'ah 62:11. That's 62:11. And the other one is Surah Araf, Surah number 7, ayah number, it's 151. So Surah Araf and Surah Jumu'ah. So we have covered quite a bit today as far as this idaafa, real idaafa and false idaafa is concerned. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.